Hi, I'm Zeb and I'm with Darling Dork, and I am reviewing Thurn and Taxis. This is one of the most hilariously esoteric games I've ever reviewed. The basic premise of the game is that you were constructing postal routes in 17th century Germany, and you're trying to build the most efficient route possible. It's kind of the game that only could really come out of Germany, in fact. It has a certain love of efficiency, which I enjoy so much. These are all the components that come with the game, and I'll just do a quick run through. Up in the top corner, these are the carriage cards. Carriage cards have no special significance. You are awarded cards based on the length of the route that you build. So, for example, the most basic one, there's a 3 right there in that little wagon wheel. That means you've built a route that has 3 or more cities in it. For that, you get 2 points. Then, if you manage to build a 4 route, you swap this out and replace it with this. You built it with a 4, you get 3 points. And so on up the line until you eventually get to the 10-point card. Here is the map. This shows Germany, Austria, and a little bit of Poland in the top corner here. For filling each of these different regions with a colored house, which I will get to in a minute, you get a point counter. So the first person to get this whole region gets the 5. And then after that, you have a 4, so the next person who does it gets a 4. These multicolored regions, you have to have a house in both of them. So if I had a house in Zurich and Basel, but I didn't have one in Innsbruck, I wouldn't be able to score for it yet. These are given for meeting certain route lengths. So the first person to get to a 5-length route gets 2 points. The first person to get to a 7-length route gets 4 points. There's a finite supply of them, obviously. Up here is the tableau. Basically, once per turn, every player can draw from something here from the top of the deck, so this gives you an idea of different cities you can expand into. Over here, these are the houses. Fairly self-explanatory. Each colored house gets a certain number. It's 20, and your goal is to try to get rid of all of them. And lastly, we have the deck of cards. The deck of cards, as you can see from here, they're all just named cities. So, for example, here we have Innsbruck. Over here we have, Mannheim. These are all different cities you have the possibility to expand into. So how is the game played? You have 4 different special abilities, and you can access one of them on any turn. So to start with, you have the postal carrier here. Instead of playing 1 city card per turn, you can play 2. You have the postmaster. Instead of drawing 1 card per turn, you can draw 2. The administrator, you can wipe this whole tableau clean and just deal out 6 new cards. You do that if you don't like what you have. And you have the cartwright. The cartwright's a little tricky to explain. So I mentioned earlier with the carriages, when you complete a route of a certain length, you get to upgrade to a new carriage. He lets you cheat a little bit. So if I already have the 4-length route, and I build a 3-length route that's new, I can use him to get the 5. He lets you jump ahead by 2 spaces. Note that you still have to have filled the requirements, so you have to go sequentially through the carriages. He just lets you do it through progressively shorter routes. That's the basic gist of the game. So every turn, you draw a card or 2, depending on the special ability. You play a card out, and then you score if it's of a certain length. So some rules that go into it. Your cities have to be conjoined, or the routes themselves have to be conjoined. So, for example, Ingolstadt and Augsburg, if I play a route, if I start in Ingolstadt, I could go to Augsburg like this. So I have these cards in front of me. Note that I could not go Ingolstadt, Augsburg, and then play a Pilsen card because there's no connectors. You have to be able to connect the cities. If you are unable to connect during your turn, you lose the route. Even if you would be able to score it, you can't. Scoring works. If you have a route of at least 3 cards, you can close it out. So if I had Ingolstadt and Augsburg and then Regensburg, I could score them out. Scoring works in one of 2 ways. You can either do a house in all of 1 colored region. So if I had a card here, 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 and here, I could either do all of them in this region or 1 in each. So I could go 1 in Pilsen and then 1 somewhere along here. The logic in that is that it forces you to, you can't just immediately build enormous routes and capitalize off of it because you have to develop these multicolored regions as well. The game is played until either somebody gets to a 7 carriage here or they get rid of their last house. It goes around one more time, and the game ends, and that's how it's scored. In general, I like this game quite a bit. It plays a little bit, it has some kind of Ticket to Ride elements in that you're playing these city cards and you're constructing routes, but it's not too similar, and I don't think it should be too heavily focused on. It's really its own game in that regard. And trying to, the competitive element of the game is more based around getting to the scoring areas rather than closing routes off from people, because you can't really do that in this game. There's also some jockeying that can go on with the cards here. Because everybody's route is open to everybody else, you have an idea what they're going for, what they might need. So you can potentially use the administrator or other cards to wipe tableaus, make sure your opponents aren't getting what they need. Overall, I'd rate this game an 8 out of 10. I haven't played any of the expansions yet, so I'm not sure what they add to the game, but I would be curious to. It's fun, it's light, it was an award winner when it came out. I suggest you give it a play. Happy gaming.